Figured I'd give a garden update since it's been quite some time, and I'm doing it a little different this year. Instead of planting in the ground, I am planting in raised beds that I built, and I've done it in an economical way, just using material I had on hand. So the cost is zero for the materials, and it's about a foot deep, a little more on the lower end of the slope. You can see there, drops down a few more inches. These are all fully planted. When I was transplanting my onions that I had in the ground, I just saw I missed one, so I'll have to get that in the ground. In this bed, I have the onions, you can see, of course. I took this bit of the end of the celery stalk that we had finished and I just stuck it in there, so we'll see how that does. Over here there are different tomato plants through the center, and there's also garlic planted through a couple of rows on that side, a couple of rows of garlic, and a row of spinach. On this side we have acorn squash. All these in the middle are cucumber. These are pumpkin. It's a green pumpkin. What's it called? Sweet something. Sweet something. Sweet meat pumpkin. It's one that's green on the outside. And over in this bed, we have the onions there. Just this side of them, there are radishes, a row of radishes, then a couple rows of garlic. In the center, on this side, are tomatoes. On that side, from that stake over, are bell peppers. Those are purple bells. The rest are, I'm not sure what kind they are. I harvested the seeds and didn't label them for some reason. Now, then here, I think that's garlic. Pretty sure it's garlic. Yep. And then here I have some watermelon from the edge to there. And then I have here in the middle, I have spaghetti squash. And then over here I have cantaloupe. And it's been rainy and cold and kind of hard on these little fellas. So I hope they do okay, because I'm really looking forward to some homegrown fruit. Then getting prepared to build another bed here. And over here I have the zucchini, 3 plants that I transplanted. 2 of them look like they're doing okay. This one's a lot smaller, and I'm hopeful that looks like it's going to be alright. Threw some Walla Walla sweet onions in here. And these are just yellow onions. And I have a couple of plants that are a type of zucchini, a vining zucchini kind of plant. I still have to put these in a better piece of ground. These are green onions. These have overwintered every year since our first year here. Last year they overwintered in that green bin that was laying sideways and holding them. This is my parsley that overwintered as well, and it's here overshadowing this parsley, which came up last year. It just died. The parsley's starting to go to seed, and it's laying over because how heavy it is with the water. This, thank you, Mom, is a thornless raspberry bush. Look at that. Something I grew up with. Totally appreciate that. Because if you look at the other raspberry bushes, and I'll talk as we get over to them. This row is garlic and a whole bunch of weeds. Luckily, the garlic is doing better than the weeds. But eventually I would like to build a bed and pull those out because this ground is clay and roots are just not going to expand well. I planted a whole bunch of garlic in those beds and I don't really need to worry about that because I could just harvest this and use it however it is, but I would like to really enjoy a good healthy harvest. You can't really see too well, but it's crowded and the ground is hard and that deadness and morning glories. This is the bane right there, the bane of the garden. And grass coming up. Oh, just doing this, I can smell the garlic. So this is what came up from what was left in the ground. This row, I didn't hardly harvested any of it. And so anyways, there's the comfrey, beautiful little flowers, and that is about chest height for me on the back. This brings us over here to this, I believe it's Heritage raspberry. These little tiny flowers, and they stay tiny, and they produce little tiny raspberries really late. They're very tart. I am getting way more than I had last year, but we'll see what they actually produce. Now this is a more traditional raspberry. They're a lot bigger than the Heritage ones, which are really pretty and be good for jams, but these ones, they're tons more than last year, a lot earlier, and on the Heritage and on these you can see they have spikes. Now the other thing I have that hasn't any spikes or spines are the blackberries, and I lucked out on those. Look at that. Not a single thing to stab your hand with on that stuff. And it is just wonderful. I really appreciate that. And I have way more blackberries than I did last year, and I need to clean up the area here so that they can grow better and be harvestable. Just got some supplies here in the way, and I have strawberries. This is the end of the line for the berries. Some blackberries over there, a little bit further best line, but getting a lot more flowers than we did last year, and they have decided to come down as well, which I'm not arguing with. But that is the garden update, well, let me walk across this totally drenched lawn and show you that little extension that I always have near the house. And have my mint back here that is doing very well, as mint does. And it decided to seed into this little planter that I have, which has green onions here and some garlic and such over here. And there's the mint you can see that came up. I never planted any mint in here. That is all because this was sitting next to, it was sitting about here last season when it flowered. And there's some garlic right there that came up that I didn't harvest last year. You can see between the grasses those really thick stalks right there. These ones. That's the garlic. And it seems to be doing fine. But this here is mostly grass. And there's the garlic in it. Yeah. So, edibles. I like edibles. And the garden shot from the distance, it's going to look really different this year later on. And I'll go ahead and get you continual updates as it progresses. So, I'm thinking something along the lines of a tunnel trellis there. We'll see how big I make it, and we might end up making either putting some raised beds underneath it for leafy greens, or creating a dining area, or maybe a mix of both. So we'll see, but that's the tentative plan right now, and I appreciate you joining me. If you have ideas or to share that you've done, please share them below in the comments. I really appreciate it. And hey, if you enjoyed this video, throw me up a thumbs up, and subscribe and share it with your friends. I really appreciate that. Thank you much.